The cavernous Galactic Council chamber stretched beyond human comprehension, its vaulted ceiling lost in the artificial atmosphere that simulated the perfect blend of breathable air for 27 distinct species. Ambassador Jake Mitchell stood motionless before the towering semicircular bench where the 7 senior delegates sat in judgment. After 25 years of representing humanity in this chamber, Jake had memorized every cold metal surface, every hidden surveillance node, and the exact cadence of Chancellor Vexmore's patronizing tone. "Ambassador Mitchell," Chancellor Vexmore's voice boomed through the chamber's perfect acoustics. The ancient Zenturi's translucent skin pulsed with bioluminescent patterns that betrayed his agitation. "The Council has deliberated for exactly 17 galactic standard cycles on the matter of Earth's continued irregularities." Jake maintained his diplomatic posture, shoulders squared, hands clasped behind his back, face a mask of attentive neutrality. 25 years of hearings had taught him to reveal nothing behind that mask. However, his mind calculated precise timings. 3 minutes until Earth's synchronized withdrawal began. "Humanity has been granted unprecedented leniency," continued Vexmore, his 6-fingered hands arranging holographic documents that floated before him. "No other species has been permitted to maintain independent military development, unrestricted colonization rights, or exemption from technology submission protocols." To Jake's left, Delegate Crickstall of the Zenturi Federation chittered in agreement, her exoskeleton vibrating with righteous indignation. To his right, the blob-like form of the Geld representative oozed subtle displeasure, their surface rippling with emotion indicating colors. "The Crystal Collective has presented evidence of human weapons development beyond permitted guidelines," said Vexmore, gesturing toward a silent delegation of crystalline entities whose faceted bodies refracted the chamber's light into dazzling patterns. "The Borealis Compact has documented 17 violations of agricultural production quotas. The Zenturi Census Bureau reports discrepancies in human population statistics." 2 minutes remaining. Jake tightened his grip behind his back, feeling the worn edges of the paper document in his hand. Actual paper, not a digital file, not a holographic projection, an anachronism, like so much of humanity's approach to the Galactic Council. "Most troubling," Vexmore's voice dropped an octave, "are reports from the Technology Oversight Committee that humans are deliberately withholding innovations from the communal database. Such selfishness contradicts the founding principles of our 10,000-year alliance." Crickstall leaned forward, her mandibles clicking rhythmically. "Humans claim they need these exemptions for security, yet they are the newest, least vulnerable species in Council space. The Zenturi have contributed to galactic harmony for millennia without such special treatment." Jake had heard variations of this speech at least monthly for 2 decades. The Council's complaints were always the same. Humanity moved too quickly, expanded too aggressively, shared too little, questioned too much. Their solution was always more regulation, more oversight, more control. "The Council has reached its verdict," announced Vexmore, his bioluminescence flashing in formal patterns that signaled an official decree. "Earth and all human colonies will submit to direct Council supervision. A regulatory commission will be established on your homeworld. Human technology research will proceed only with prior Council approval. Military forces will be reduced by 60% and placed under Zenturi command. Additionally, taxation will triple to compensate for administrative burdens." 1 minute. Jake felt a bead of sweat trace down his spine beneath the formal diplomatic uniform. Around the chamber, aides and minor delegates murmured in approval. The verdict was harsh but not unexpected. The Council had been building toward this moment for years, testing humanity's tolerance for interference, gauging their reaction to each new restriction. "Furthermore," Vexmore continued, clearly enjoying this moment of authority. All proprietary human technology must be surrendered to the communal repository within 30 standard days. Council inspectors will ensure compliance on all human worlds. 30 seconds. This verdict is non-negotiable and effective immediately. Vexmore's skin pulsed with finality. Ambassador Mitchell, you are instructed to transmit these terms to your government with the Council's expectation of full compliance. Time. Jake unclasped his hands and took a single step forward, a breach of protocol that sent an immediate ripple of tension through the chamber. He unfolded the paper document, holding it before him with steady hands. Chancellor Vexmore, honored delegates of the Galactic Council, Jake's voice carried clearly through the sudden silence. I stand before you not to receive your verdict, but to deliver one of our own. Vexmore's bioluminescence flashed in patterns of confusion and alarm. Ambassador, you have not been recognized to speak. As of exactly 0000 hours Galactic Standard Time, Jake continued, undeterred. Earth and all human-settled worlds hereby withdraw from the Galactic Council and its jurisdictions. The chamber erupted. The Geld representative lost cohesion momentarily, their forms splattering in shock. Crickstall's exoskeleton rattled in a Zenturi expression of outrage. The Crystal Collective vibrated at a frequency that shattered several nearby data terminals. Vexmore rose to his full height, nearly 3 meters of outraged Zenturi authority. This is absolutely unprecedented. Withdrawal requires a formal petition, review period, transition plan. With respect, Chancellor, Jake's voice cut through the chaos. The Council Charter, Section 7, Paragraph 31, states that any species may withdraw with immediate effect if they determine that Council membership threatens their sovereign development. We have made that determination. Preposterous! Vexmore's skin flashed crimson. Humanity has flourished under Council guidance. Your species was confined to a single planet before we welcomed you. Jake allowed himself the smallest smile. We were a spacefaring civilization before contact. Chancellor, we've appreciated certain aspects of Council membership, but we can no longer accept the increasing restrictions on human innovation and expansion. You cannot simply leave, sputtered Crickstall, her translator struggling to convey her incredulity. We already have, Jake replied, placing the paper document on the small podium before him. This is merely a courtesy notification. Earth's ambassador, that would be me, will depart from Council space within 24 hours. All human citizens have received instructions to return to human-controlled territories immediately. And what of your obligations? Demanded Vexmore. Your resource commitments, the technologies developed under Council supervision. All outstanding resource commitments have been deposited in the designated repositories, Jake said. As for technology, we are taking our innovations with us, as is our right under the same charter that your predecessors insisted we sign. A cold silence fell over the chamber as the implications sank in. For centuries, the Council had maintained control through bureaucratic inertia and the threat of isolation. No species had ever simply opted out. You will regret this decision, Vexmore said, his voice dangerously quiet. The Council's protection and resources are not easily replaced. Humanity will find the cosmos a cold, dangerous place without our guidance. Jake bowed slightly, the formal gesture at odds with the diplomatic bombshell he had just detonated. We thank the Council for its hospitality these past 25 years and wish all member species peace and prosperity. With that, Ambassador Jake Mitchell turned his back on the Galactic Council, another breach of protocol, and walked steadily toward the towering exit doors. Behind him, the chamber descended into pandemonium as delegates demanded emergency sessions and aides scrambled to assess the immediate ramifications of humanity's unprecedented exit. As the massive doors closed behind him, Jake allowed his diplomatic mask to fall away. He leaned against the corridor wall for a moment, exhaling a breath he felt he'd been holding for 25 years. Then he straightened, tapped his communication implant, and spoke the words that would begin the next chapter of human history. Eagle has left the nest. Commence Operation Exodus. Captain Lisa Rodriguez stood on the bridge of the UES Pathfinder, watching the holographic displays that tracked the coordinated withdrawal of humanity from Council space. As the flagship of Earth's evacuation fleet, the Pathfinder coordinated the movements of over 200 vessels, from massive colony ships to nimble corvettes. "Status report," Lisa demanded, her eyes never leaving the tactical display where thousands of human indicators blinked in real time. 97% of diplomatic personnel have cleared Council stations, reported her executive officer, Commander James Wu. Research outposts in the Orion sector are completely evacuated. Mining operations in the Perseus Arm are at 63% evacuation and accelerating. Lisa nodded, mentally calculating transit times and potential bottlenecks. 300,000 humans scattered across 17 star systems, all needing to withdraw in an orderly fashion before the Council could implement restrictive measures. "What about Proxima Research Station?" she asked, focusing on the indicator that showed the least progress. "Dr. Emma Foster reports her team needs another 6 hours to secure their research materials." Wu replied, "They're insisting on bringing everything. Apparently, they've been conducting some off-the-books research that wasn't registered with the Council." A small smile tugged at Lisa's lips. "Why am I not surprised? Tell them they have 4 hours, not 6. I want that station empty before the Zenturi realize what they've been working on." "Captain," called out Lieutenant Patel from the communications station, "we're receiving reports of Council officials denying departure permits at Galileo Colony." Lisa's expression hardened. "Put it on screen." The holographic display shifted to show a human settlement on Galileo 4, where hundreds of colonists were being blocked from boarding their transports by insectoid Zenturi officials. "Departure requires authorization from the Colonial Administration Bureau," a Zenturi official was saying, mandibles clicking in bureaucratic satisfaction. "Standard processing time is 17 days. Lisa exchanged glances with Wu. This was the response they had anticipated. The Council's first instinct would always be to throw up procedural barriers. "Implement Protocol Omega," she ordered, "and connect me to Admiral Clark at Nova Station." Within moments, the weathered face of Admiral Tony Clark appeared on her screen. The veteran officer nodded in greeting, his expression grim but determined. "They're starting with the permit game, Admiral," Lisa reported. "Galileo is the first, but I expect we'll see the same at all major colonies within the hour." "Already happening," Clark confirmed. "The Zenturi are particularly aggressive about it. Activate your override authorities. Captain, Earth Central has authorized Protocol Omega for all human settlements." Protocol Omega, the contingency they had spent 5 years secretly developing. Under its provisions, any human official could override Council systems using backdoors that Earth's cyber division had quietly built into the shared network infrastructure. "Understood. Admiral, Rodriguez out?" Lisa turned to her tactical officer. "Lieutenant Kim, transmit the Protocol Omega authorization codes to all colony governors. Remind them to implement the communications blackout immediately afterward." Within minutes, reports began flowing in from across Council space. At Galileo Colony, the Zenturi officials suddenly found their authority codes invalidated. Their systems locked out. Human security personnel politely but firmly escorted them to temporary holding facilities while the evacuation proceeded. "Ma'am," called out Wu, his voice tight with urgency. "We're getting distress calls from Council facilities near human settlements. Their systems are failing. Life support, food production, navigation. They're claiming it's sabotage." Lisa frowned. We're not attacking their infrastructure. Put the reports through." The data scrolled across her screen, and understanding dawned. It wasn't sabotage, it was dependency. For decades, humans had been the Council's mechanics, engineers, and problem solvers. Their systems relied on human maintenance, human parts, human innovation. As humanity withdrew, those systems were failing simply from lack of support. "Send this message to all colonial governors," Lisa ordered. "Provide emergency assistance for life-critical systems only. Make it clear this is humanitarian aid, not a resumption of support services. Once our people are evacuated, the Council will need to solve their own problems." Over the next 72 hours, Lisa watched as the greatest logistical operation in human history unfolded. From research outposts to mining colonies, from diplomatic enclaves to military bases, humanity collected its people and departed with disciplined precision. On the third day, the Pathfinder received a priority transmission from Proxima Research Station. Dr. Emma Foster's face appeared on screen, her expression a mixture of triumph and anxiety. "Captain Rodriguez, we've completed evacuation, but there's something you should know," Foster said, her voice low as if afraid of being overheard despite the secure channel. "Go ahead, Dr. Foster," Lisa replied, noting the scientist's unusually secretive demeanor. "The research we're bringing out, it's beyond anything we've shared with the Council," Foster explained. "Terraforming protocols that can transform dead worlds in weeks instead of centuries. Medical nanotechnology that can cure any known disease. Energy generation systems that make Council technology look primitive." Lisa's eyes widened. "You developed all this under Council supervision? How did you keep it hidden?" Foster's laugh held a hint of pride. "The Council's oversight was so bureaucratic and predictable that avoiding it became part of our research methodology. They checked what they expected to find and never looked deeper. We've been developing these technologies for 15 years, Captain, waiting for the day when we could use them freely. Does Earth Central know about this?" "Only the highest levels," Foster confirmed. "This research is why they finally decided it was time to leave the Council. We've reached a point where staying would require either sharing these breakthroughs or actively suppressing them. Neither option was acceptable." Lisa absorbed this information, understanding now why Operation Exodus had been prioritized at the highest levels of government. "Get your team and your research to Earth, Dr. Foster. I think humanity is about to take a very interesting step forward." As the last human vessels departed Council space, reports began filtering in of cascading system failures throughout the galactic infrastructure. The Pathfinder's communications array intercepted Council emergency broadcasts, panicked requests for human technical assistance, and increasingly desperate pleas for Earth to reconsider its withdrawal. Lisa watched the stars streak by as the Pathfinder led the fleet home, carrying the future of humanity and leaving behind a Council that was only beginning to understand what they had lost. Chancellor Vexmore stood before the emergency session of the Galactic Council, his normally luminescent skin dull with exhaustion. 3 months had passed since humanity's abrupt departure, and the situation had deteriorated far beyond his worst projections. "Esteemed delegates," he began, his voice lacking its usual authoritative resonance, "I present the comprehensive impact assessment as requested by the Emergency Committee." The holographic display activated, showing a galactic map with vast sections highlighted in alarming red. Red indicated systems experiencing critical failures, life support, food production, transportation, communication. Nearly 60% of the map glowed crimson. "As you can see," Vexmore continued, "the withdrawal of human technical support has had significant consequences." "Significant?" erupted Delegate Forix of the Borealis Compact, his methane-breathing apparatus hissing with indignation. My homeworld is experiencing food production failures. 3 orbital habitats have been evacuated due to life support collapse. Vexmore's skin rippled with distress patterns. The Council is coordinating alternative technical teams. Who are untrained on human-built systems, interrupted another delegate. The Arcturian Engineering Corps spent 6 days trying to restart the power grid on Outpost Sigma before admitting defeat. The chamber, once the pinnacle of galactic order, had descended into something approaching chaos. Delegates interrupted each other, protocol was ignored, and the crystal delegates had stopped attending entirely, their sensitive structures unable to withstand the heightened emotional frequencies. General Vacton, the Council's military commander, stepped forward, his warriors' bearing diminished by recent events. Chancellor, I must report that 47% of the defense fleet is currently non-operational. The automated maintenance systems designed by humans have failed, and we lack the technical expertise to repair them. A cold silence fell over the chamber. The defense fleet had been the Council's pride, its deterrent against the rare but dangerous non-aligned species that prowled the galactic fringes. How long until full operational status can be restored? Vexmore asked, dreading the answer. At current rates of repair, Vacton hesitated. Perhaps 7 years, Chancellor? Murmurs of shock rippled through the assembly. 7 years of vulnerability. 7 years during which the Council's authority existed largely on reputation rather than capability. There is more, said Vacton, his voice lowering. We have intercepted communications indicating that humanity has expanded its territory. They have claimed 12 previously uninhabitable systems beyond Council space. Uninhabitable? Questioned Crickstall, her mandibles clicking in confusion. How can they settle uninhabitable worlds? They appear to have developed advanced terraforming capabilities, Vacton replied. Worlds that would take our methods centuries to transform are becoming habitable in weeks. Before Vexmore could respond, an aide rushed to his side, whispering urgently in his ear. The Chancellor's bioluminescence flashed patterns of disbelief. This session will recess for 1 hour, Vexmore announced suddenly. Senior delegates will join me in the secure communication chamber immediately. Minutes later, the 7 highest-ranking council members gathered before a secure quantum communication array. Vexmore activated the system with a wave of his hand, and the image of Delegate Crickstall's son materialized before them. Zerxel, Crickstall chittered in alarm. Why are you contacting the High Council? Where are you? The young Zenturi's exoskeleton bore the distinctive markings of a diplomatic cadet, but his posture displayed an unusual confidence as he addressed the assembled leaders. Honored delegates, I transmit from Earth's orbital diplomatic station, Zerxel announced. I have been authorized to deliver a message from the United Earth government. Vexmore stepped forward, drawing himself up to his full height. Cadet Zerxel, you are ordered to return to Council space immediately. Unauthorized contact with withdrawn species violates. With respect, Chancellor, interrupted Zerxel, I am not here under Council authority. I and 43 other representatives from 22 species have accepted Earth's invitation to establish direct diplomatic relations. Crickstall's mandibles clacked in maternal outrage. You have no authority to establish relations. You are a cadet, barely past your 3rd molting. Mother, please understand, Zerxel replied, his translator conveying earnest determination. I've seen what the humans have achieved since leaving the Council. Their medical facilities have cured the crystalline degradation that has plagued the Crystal Collective for millennia, the same disease the Council's medical board declared untreatable. That is impossible, stated Vexmore flatly. The degradation has resisted all known treatments for 12,000 years. Nevertheless, it has been cured, insisted Zerxel. But I'm not contacting you to debate medical achievements. I bear an offer from Earth. The delegates exchanged uneasy glances. Vexmore's skin pulsed with suspicion. What offer? Humanity has observed the system's failures throughout Council space. Zirxil explained. They offer immediate humanitarian assistance, medical teams, engineering specialists, replacement parts, and food supplies for affected worlds. A momentary hope flashed across Vexmore's features before suspicion reasserted itself. And what do they demand in exchange for this generosity? Nothing, replied Zirxil simply. Nothing? Echoed Vexmore incredulously. That violates every established protocol for interspecies assistance. There must be conditions, requirements, reciprocity demands. The only condition is that assistance be provided directly to those in need, without Council administration or oversight. Zirxil said Earth's representatives were quite insistent on that point. The implications crashed over the assembled delegates like a gravity wave. Humanity was not merely withdrawing from the Council. They were establishing an alternative diplomatic framework that bypassed 10,000 years of carefully constructed bureaucracy and control. This is outrageous, sputtered Vexmore. The Council alone coordinates interspecies relations. Direct bilateral agreements undermine the entire foundation of galactic harmony. Zirxil's posture conveyed what his insectoid features could not. Pity. Chancellor, people are suffering from preventable system failures. Multiple habitats face imminent life support collapse. Is protocol more important than lives? Before Vexmore could respond, another delegate stepped forward, the Geld representative whose amorphous body had solidified into a formal configuration. The Geld Harmony accepts Earth's offer of assistance, they said, surface rippling with decision colors. 3 of our orbital habitats are experiencing critical failures. We cannot wait for Council deliberations while our people suffocate. You cannot make unilateral decisions, Vexmore protested. All interactions must proceed through proper channels. One by one, the other delegates voiced similar acceptances, their concern for their peoples outweighing adherence to protocol. Only Vexmore and Crickstall remained opposed, their ancient species' commitment to order and hierarchy unshakable. You will regret this precedent, Vexmore warned, his skin flashing danger patterns. Once the Council's authority is undermined, chaos will follow. Humanity is not offering salvation. They are ensuring our irrelevance. Zirxil's translator conveyed his solemn response. Chancellor, perhaps the choice is not between order and chaos, but between a system that serves its people and one that merely perpetuates itself. The transmission ended, leaving the Council chamber in stunned silence. Within hours, human aid ships were dispatched to critical zones throughout Council space, bypassing the elaborate permission procedures that had governed interspecies contact for millennia. Vexmore watched from his private chamber as the first human vessels entered Zenturi space, bringing promised aid to struggling colonies. His skin displayed complex patterns of emotion that no translator could fully capture: fear, rage, disbelief, and beneath it all, a dawning realization that the order he had served his entire life was dissolving before his eyes. The Council had not crumbled from external attack or internal rebellion, but from something far more devastating: irrelevance. 1 year after humanity's withdrawal, the face of Dr. Nathan Cooper appeared on communication screens across 200 worlds. The distinguished xenobiologist had been a minor Council consultant before the withdrawal. Now he spoke as Earth's Secretary of Interstellar Cooperation. Greetings to all sentient beings throughout the galaxy, Cooper began, his weathered features projecting calm authority. Today marks 1 standard year since Earth and her colonies chose independence from the Galactic Council. I speak to share our progress and extend an invitation. The broadcast, unauthorized by Council communications protocols, bypassed the standard channels and transmitted directly to public and private receivers. Another demonstration of human technical capability. In 12 months, Humanity has established colonies on 47 worlds, previously deemed uninhabitable. Cooper continued, our population has grown by 12%. Disease has been eliminated from all human settlements. Energy production exceeds consumption by factors previously thought impossible. In the diminished council chamber, Chancellor Vexmore and the remaining loyal delegates watched the transmission with expressions ranging from outrage to resignation. Attendance at council sessions had dropped by 60% as more species established direct relations with Earth. But today's announcement concerns not our achievements, but our offer, said Cooper. Earth is establishing the Interstellar Medical Exchange, an open repository of medical knowledge and treatment facilities available to all species without restriction or cost. The camera pulled back to reveal a vast orbital installation, a wheel-shaped station whose scale dwarfed anything the Council had constructed in centuries. This first exchange facility can accommodate patients of all known physiologies, Cooper explained. Similar facilities will be constructed in 12 additional star systems over the next 6 months. No permission is required to seek treatment. Our only protocol is medical need. Vexmore's skin flashed patterns of pure disbelief. They cannot be serious, he muttered. The research costs alone for such treatments would bankrupt a mid-sized species. On screen, Cooper seemed to address this concern directly. Some have questioned how Earth can provide such services without compensation. The answer is simple: efficiency. Without the bureaucratic overhead of council administration, medical research proceeds at 50 times previous rates. What once took centuries now takes years. What took years now takes weeks. The broadcast continued, outlining treatment protocols and access procedures that deliberately bypassed council authority. As Cooper spoke, overlays appeared showing the locations of planned exchange facilities, none within council space, but all positioned to be accessible from multiple systems. We conclude with this simple message, said Cooper, his expression solemn. Suffering is not inevitable. Scarcity is not a law of nature. The greatest barrier to progress has never been technical limitation, but artificial restriction of innovation. Earth extends its hand in cooperation to all who wish to build a future without such limitations. The transmission ended, replaced by simple text providing direct communication protocols for interested parties. Within minutes, Council communication arrays were overwhelmed by member species requesting information about the medical exchange. 3 days later, the first non-human patients arrived at the exchange facility, crystal entities suffering from the once incurable degradation. Their treatment, documented and transmitted throughout the galaxy, required just 7 days to reverse a condition the Council had declared permanent. In her office aboard the exchange station, Agent Carol Stevens of Earth Intelligence reviewed the security feeds, showing Council observers attempting to disguise themselves among arriving patients. They're still trying to steal our medical technology, she remarked to her colleague, Commander Ortiz. Should we restrict access? Ortiz laughed, shaking his head. Let them look. The treatment protocols are deliberately transparent. We want them to see how it's done. The difference is that they can't replicate the results without the quantum processors that Dr. Foster developed, and those aren't installed anywhere they can access them. Stevens nodded, understanding the strategy. Earth wasn't hoarding knowledge. They were demonstrating capabilities that others couldn't match. Even with complete information, it was the ultimate security through advancement rather than secrecy. How are the terraforming projects proceeding? She asked, switching to another priority. Ortiz brought up a holographic display showing a barren world being systematically transformed. Atmosphere processors created breathable air while engineered bacteria converted toxic soil to fertile ground in expanding circles visible from orbit. Ahead of schedule, he replied. New Eden will be habitable in 17 days. Not the projected 30. The refugee population from the Geld habitats can begin settlement immediately afterward. Stevens studied the display with satisfaction. The Geld refugees, victims of life support failures the Council had been unable to address, would become the first non-human population to settle a human terraformed world. The diplomatic significance was enormous. "Have our observers reported the Council's response?" she asked. Ortiz's expression turned grim. "They've declared New Eden off-limits to all Council species. Not that they can enforce the declaration, but the intent is clear. They'd rather their people suffer than acknowledge our solution." And the people's response? 3 transport ships of Geld refugees departed for New Eden this morning, Ortiz said with a small smile. "They're voting with their pseudopods, so to speak." Stevens turned her attention to the final item on her priority list, a communication received from beyond the galactic rim, from a previously unknown species calling themselves the Helix Syndicate. The message had bypassed Council communication arrays entirely, directed specifically to human authorities. "They're requesting direct contact," she mused. "No Council intermediaries, no diplomatic protocols. Just one species reaching out to another. That's the 4th first contact request we've received since the medical exchange announcement." Ortiz noted, "Word is spreading beyond Council space that there's an alternative to Council membership." Stevens composed a response authorizing contact with the Helix Syndicate, knowing that each such interaction further diminished the Council's claim to be the sole legitimate authority for interstellar relations. It wasn't a deliberate campaign to destroy the ancient institution, merely the natural consequence of demonstrating a better way. As the message transmitted toward the galactic rim, Stevens watched the continued transformation of New Eden on her display in her 20 years of service, first under Council oversight and now in independence. She had never felt such optimism about the future. Humanity wasn't merely surviving without the Council. It was thriving and bringing others along in its wake. 5 years to the day after humanity's withdrawal from the Galactic Council, President Maria Santos stood before the United Earth Congress to deliver her State of the Federation address. The Grand Chamber in New Geneva housed representatives not only from Earth and her colonies, but observers from 37 non-human species, most of them still nominally Council members, but increasingly independent in practice. "Distinguished representatives, honored guests," Santos began, her powerful voice carrying easily through the vast space. 5 years ago, humanity chose a path of independence that many predicted would lead to isolation and hardship. Today, we stand before the galaxy not diminished, but expanded beyond our most ambitious projections. Behind her, a holographic display activated, showing the spread of human influence, blue indicators representing colonies, research stations, and diplomatic outposts. The blue had expanded in all directions, reaching toward the galactic core and out toward distant arms. Human population now exceeds 12 billion across 3,217 settlements. Santos continued, "Our territory encompasses 643 star systems. Poverty, disease, and energy scarcity, once considered inevitable aspects of civilization, have been eliminated from all human worlds." The audience, human and alien alike, absorbed these statistics in respectful silence. Even those who had been skeptical of Earth's chances could not deny the evidence of unprecedented prosperity. "Average human lifespan now exceeds 500 years, Santos said, pausing to let the implication sink in. "I emphasize average. Many of our citizens can expect to live far longer. Death from natural causes has become an option rather than an inevitability." A ripple of reaction passed through the non-human observers. Life extension of this magnitude had been theoretically possible under Council science, but regulatory restrictions had prevented practical implementation. These achievements, however, pale beside our diplomatic successes," Santos continued, gesturing toward the alien representatives. "The interstellar medical exchange has now treated patients from 112 species. Our terraforming technology has created habitable worlds for 9 species whose homeworlds were dying. The Free Technology Repository has shared innovations with any civilization willing to reciprocate, without the restrictive oversight that once stifled collaboration." The holographic display shifted, showing a second map alongside the first. This one displayed the current extent of Council authority, a dwindling red territory surrounded by expanding blue. "The Galactic Council continues to exist," Santos acknowledged. "We bear its member species no ill will. Earth simply demonstrated that there is another way, a path of cooperation without control, of progress without permission. Those who wish to follow the Council's path remain free to do so." In his greatly reduced chamber, Chancellor Vexmore watched the Earth broadcast with his few remaining loyal delegates. The once Grand Council had dwindled to a shadow of its former self. Only 17 species still acknowledged its authority, and even they increasingly established direct relations with Earth and its allies. "She mocks us," Crickstall chittered bitterly, "pretending respect while displaying our diminishment for the galaxy to see." Vexmore's skin displayed patterns of weary resignation. "She states only facts. Old friend, the Council's authority was always built on the belief that our way was the only way. Once an alternative was demonstrated," he left the thought unfinished. On screen, President Santos had moved to the announcement portion of her address. "Today, I am pleased to confirm that humanity has accepted an invitation from the Helix Syndicate to establish joint exploration beyond our local cluster," she said. "Their technology, combined with our innovations, will allow both our species to venture farther into the cosmos than either could alone." The holographic display showed a massive flotilla of ships, human and alien vessels integrated into a harmonious whole, poised to depart toward the intergalactic void. This expedition represents everything humanity has strived for since gaining independence. Santos continued, cooperation without domination, progress without artificial limitation, exploration driven by curiosity rather than conquest. Vexmore watched with complex emotions as the address concluded. The Council had ruled for 10 millennia based on the principle that order required control, that without centralized authority, chaos would reign. Humanity had not merely rejected that premise, they had disproven it, creating a more dynamic, prosperous order based on voluntary cooperation. "Perhaps," Vexmore said softly to his few remaining colleagues, "it is time we considered our own withdrawal from an obsolete structure." His words, unthinkable just 5 years earlier, met with thoughtful silence rather than outrage. Reality had a way of reshaping even the most entrenched perspectives. On Earth, President Santos concluded her address with words that would be recorded in the histories of 100 worlds. "The stars were never meant to be regulated, apportioned, or controlled. They are the common heritage of all sentient life, a frontier of infinite possibility. Humanity does not seek to replace the Council's authority with our own. We seek instead a galaxy where no single authority can restrict the potential of any species. The path forward is not through governance, but partnership." As the Earth Congress erupted in approval, observers transmitted the speech to their homeworlds, where councils and parliaments and hive minds began the difficult conversations about their own futures. In the darkness between stars, the joint human helix expedition activated its revolutionary drive systems, creating a controlled distortion in space-time that propelled them toward distant galaxies never before reached by any Council species. Aboard the flagship, scientists of both species worked side by side, sharing discoveries without restriction, building on each other's insights without bureaucratic oversight. The Galactic Council had maintained stability for 10,000 years, but stagnation had been the price of that stability. Humanity had chosen a different path, one of perpetual growth, perpetual discovery, perpetual becoming. They had walked away from the established order not in anger or defiance, but simply because they could imagine something better. And in doing so, they had changed the course of galactic history forever. On the observation deck of the expedition flagship, a young human scientist stood beside a Helix researcher, both gazing at the receding light of the Milky Way through a transparent viewport. "Do you think the Council will eventually adapt?" asked the Helix researcher, their spiral appendages gesturing toward the diminishing galaxy. "Or will they cling to their traditions until nothing remains?" The human smiled, considering the question. "I believe they'll adapt. In time, the desire for growth is universal. They've just forgotten how to embrace it without fear. And if they don't adapt, then they'll become what all obsolete systems become, a footnote in history, a lesson for future civilizations." The human turned from the viewport to face the uncharted darkness ahead, but that's their choice to make. Ours lies out there. Together, representatives of two species who had never known each other under Council rule gazed into the infinite possibility of unexplored space, united not by treaties or regulations, but by shared curiosity and mutual respect. Behind them, humanity continued its peaceful revolution, dismantling 10,000 years of limitation not through conflict, but through example. One by one, species were recognizing a fundamental truth that the Council had spent millennia denying, that the greatest security came not from control, but from connection, not from restriction, but from freedom. And across the galaxy, the future was being rewritten, one independent decision at a time.